Sometimes you come across something, a line in a book, a piece of music, or in this case, a prayer that just stops you in your tracks. Well, hidden away in the book of Proverbs, there's a short, simple prayer from a man named Agur that does exactly that. It's one of the most challenging, counterintuitive requests you'll ever find, and it forces us to get really honest about our relationship with two massive things: our integrity and our money. So, Agur's prayer has two parts. And the first one, well, it's pretty straightforward. He asks God, keep falsehood and lies far from me. Basically, he's praying for integrity, for honesty. And let's be real, who's going to argue with that? It's a noble goal. We all want to be good, truthful people. Exactly. This first part is easy. It feels right. It lines up perfectly with how we want to see ourselves. Most of us could pray this part all day long without even blinking. But then, the prayer takes a very, very sharp turn. And here it is, the second request. Give me neither poverty nor riches. And boom, that's where the record scratches. You kind of have to read it twice. Wait, what? Not poverty? Okay, got it. I'm on board with that. But not riches? Praying against becoming rich? I mean, that feels like it goes against everything we're taught to work for. The author of our source material was incredibly candid about this. He said for years he just flat out couldn't pray this part. And I think that resonates with a lot of us, right? It creates this immediate internal conflict because it challenges something we hold really dear. Okay, so let's really dig into that conflict. It's a head-on collision. On one side, you have this deep spiritual idea of surrender and trust. And on the other, you have our very real, very practical ambition for worldly success and security. This was the author's constant internal monologue. Think about it. If your lifelong goal is to achieve financial independence, this prayer directly contradicts that ambition. It's not just some abstract idea, it's a gut-level resistance to letting go of what you see as your safety net. How can you pray against the very thing you're striving so hard to achieve? So what this prayer really does is present us with two great tests. And these tests have a funny way of revealing what we truly value and where our trust actually lies. One test feels completely natural, but the other, not so much. Now, this is where it gets really interesting when you break it down. Look at the test of integrity. It just makes sense to our brains. Be honest, be truthful. It enhances our reputation and feels like it complements our faith. It's a win-win. But then you look at the test of money. It goes against our logic, against our survival instincts. It feels like money is in direct competition with God for our trust and security. And that's why the source makes this critical point. The test of money is actually the greater, more difficult test. And this puts a brilliant spotlight on the core issue. Why is the money test so much harder? Because it's the main event. It's the dominant value, the primary currency of the world around us. So when you pray against riches, you're not just saying a few words. You're actively pushing back against a massive cultural and personal current. You're choosing a completely different value system. So you have to ask, what was Agur thinking? Why make such a bizarre request? Well, it turns out he had some incredibly sharp reasoning. He was keenly aware of the spiritual danger that comes not just from having too little, but also from having too much. And here, Agur explains himself perfectly. It's like he sees life as a path with a cliff on either side. On one side is poverty, which could drive him to desperation, to steal, and to dishonor God. But on the other side is the cliff of wealth, which could make him so self-sufficient and arrogant that he forgets God entirely, basically saying, "Who is the Lord?" He wants to live in that safe, fertile valley right between those two dangerous extremes. And this is where the source material gets really personal. And I'll ask it to you now. Have you ever had too much? And not just money. Too much stuff, too much success, too much self-reliance? It's a question that really forces you to be honest with yourself. The reason we almost never think we have too much is because of what the source calls the curse. It's this subtle, quiet pride. It's the little voice in our head that says, sure, wealth might corrupt other people, but I'm different. I can handle it. I can get rich and still be humble. Agur's prayer completely challenges that very deep-seated assumption. And here is the uncomfortable truth. For many of us, this isn't a problem for some far-off future. It's our reality right now. The source argues that we already have too much. Our possessions, our stuff, it all consumes our time, our energy. The sheer effort it takes just to manage what we have can cause us to slowly drift away, to live our lives as if God isn't our primary focus, even if we never say that out loud. So how do you get from that place of, I can't pray this, to a place of genuine acceptance? Well, it's a journey of surrender. And it's so important to realize that for the author, this was not some quick fix. It wasn't an overnight decision. It was a process that took years. Years of wrestling with this idea, of slowly letting go of worldly goals, and of shifting his trust from financial independence to a daily dependence on God. But eventually, that breakthrough happened. The journey from resisting it to fully embracing it was complete. And to be able to get to a point where you can say this prayer and genuinely mean it from the bottom of your heart, that represents a profound shift in your entire worldview. So let's just look at the whole thing one last time. Reading it now after understanding the why behind it, it lands with a completely different weight. It's no longer just some strange ancient request. It's a wise, protective plea for a life of integrity and dependence, a life lived free from the dangers on either side. And that brings us to the final crucial question that this prayer really asks. And the question isn't whether you're spiritual enough to pray this, it's about being secure enough. What Agur's prayer reveals is that the true test of our faith isn't just avoiding lies, but resisting the powerful illusion that our wealth is what makes us secure. So the real question for all of us is this: where do we place our security? In our own ability to accumulate, or in something else entirely? That's the greater test.